Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I'm also joined by my two co-hosts, Michael Hall
What's up, everybody?
and Michael
I'm,
Reed.
did I get here just in time?
Yes, you
You
did. We just
did.
started the episode.
Perfect. I was just saying.
And we're also joined by Michael Phillips of the Richmond Times Dispatch. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Great to be here.
Absolutely. Look, there's so much to go over, Michael. It seems like every week it just seems to be something new just piling on this team. The latest to come out was another Wapo article claiming that Dan had ordered Larry Michael and interns at the organization to make these kind of lewd tapes of cheerleaders at the photo shoots. So what was your immediate reaction hearing that, and what is the buzz around the beat guys?
Well, I think that when the first report came out, everybody understood there was probably more to it than that. I think that the big question looming over the whole thing, of course, is whether this will ultimately lead to him having to sell the team or, being disciplined in some way.
That was my next
related
question
to
for
that. And I thought the statement yesterday that he put out, essentially casting doubt on the stories, was probably not a productive step for him. I don't want to be callous about it because these are obviously very serious allegations, but they have good people in place right now. Ron Rivera, Jason Wright, these are very qualified, very good people. I feel like Dan Snyder's best course of action here is to say these are bad things. I don't condone these bad things. Look, we're moving on. These people are in charge. But anytime he makes a statement or he gets into a petty grudge match with the newspaper or anything like that, it's a bad look and it detracts from what they're trying to do.
Yeah. And I have to ask you because you saying that, do you think this will lead to Snyder selling?
I don't think he would ever voluntarily sell the team, and frankly, if I owned an NFL team, I probably wouldn't ever voluntarily sell it either.
Can't blame the guy.
The question is whether the NFL would make him sell the team, and that's a much trickier question. That's probably one that would ultimately have to be decided in court. And do they have the appetite to go to court and to do that? I think that they would probably rather avoid that at all costs. So my hunch is no. Ultimately, he won't. I will say that, anytime he does something that antagonizes the other owners, Roger Goodell, he takes himself a step closer to them ultimately making that decision that it's worthwhile. I read my story the other day. Al Davis, Raiders owner for a long time, sued the league twice. Wow. It was openly hostile to the commissioner. They never made him sell the team. It's just, taking a billionaire to court is a long, brutal process. So he'd have to really tick them off.
Yeah.
And I have to ask you, Twitter and the media, the Washington football team sphere, if you will, was kind of taken back yesterday because the Washington football team franchise came out with their own statement after Dan Snyder himself personally came out with this statement. So let me get your opinion on that.
That was wild. And I think that was directly prompted by Snyder's statement. And I think it's interesting because you look at Jason Wright, the new president. To me, the statement sounded like a lot of the interviews he's given. I'm sure you guys have heard some of the interviews he's done. Yeah. It really sounded like his tone, his wording. And I don't know if that was his way to not assert that he's in charge, but, to show that his leadership will be different from this kind of petty name calling that we've had in the past around there. I'm glad they did it. I am very curious about the backstory behind it, to be sure. I'm also curious if Jason Wright has some kind of protection. I wrote that Roger Goodell tried to get him to come work at the league office. He's a guy Roger likes a lot. And so I do wonder if he's operating maybe with a little bit more protection from Dan Snyder than previous employees have enjoyed.
Yeah, and then that brings the question, it brings right to mind why Snyder went with Jason Wright. Why would they be sending two statements? And the first thing that comes to mind for me is that they're both distancing themselves. Like you said, this is different than previous regimes that have been in the business where it's all one straight up statement. And generally it's for Dan Snyder. It's Dan Snyder himself. This kind of move to me was kind of a symbol, a red herring, if you will, of the Washington football team saying it's not the same way. We're separated from Dan Snyder. We're not toe and toe. So this is the way we feel, and this is the way that Snyder feels. And so it's almost like saying to the fan base, look, we're finally separated. This is a change of culture. As much as it was a crazy thing, I thought it was refreshing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the one thing I hope is that these guys will be allowed to do their job. Because I'll say this, I liked Jay, and frankly, I liked Mike Shanahan before. I'm like, by the time you get to be an NFL coach, you're really good at what you do. Like, there's 32 of these guys in the whole world.
Right.
Rivera's on a different level, man. Like, he connects with the players. I know everybody just, says trips over themselves saying nice things about him, but I'm going to do it too. He's the real deal. And I think Jason Wright's the real deal too. And I just think there's a lot for fans to be really excited about there, as long as they don't get tripped up by this other nonsense.
Right. And so sorry.
Well, you hear just former players. One thing, Christian McCaffrey was interviewed the other day about Ron Rivera, about his cancer. And he went on just a big spiel about how amazing of a person Ron Rivera is. And that's a theme that you've heard consistently from players that have played for him. But one thing that McCaffrey said that really stuck out in my mind was he's somebody who's just tough. He's not only tough on you when you're winning, he's tough on you when you're losing as well. So he's just a guy who's consistently, that's who he is. He's there. And it's so rare for this Washington franchise to have a coach like this in place with this team president coming from Jay and Bruce Allen days and Vinny Serrato. And so it's a bright future.
Now, Michael, I have to ask you in regards to Reed's statement there, what is the practices? You were able to go see some of the practices. What is the difference in the physical, just looking at scale from last year's, like Jay's, or previous years, like Mike Shanahan's?
Yeah, it's tougher for sure than the Jay practice, but also they don't have preseason games. So he's really working a lot. One thing I've never seen tackling in a training camp, and there's been a few plays, where there's full on tackling here. And I don't think that's the way Ron runs business normally. I think he's just, there are no preseason games. And frankly, he's got to sort this roster out. I'm sure you guys debate this all the time. He's got some decisions to make, and he doesn't know these, he only knows them from the film in the weight room. So he's got a lot of business to do. He gets down to it. I think the defining moment of training camp was, it would have been last Saturday. The offense stunk. It was a really terrible practice. He just chewed them out right there on the spot in front of everybody. Called out dudes by name, called out their terrible plays. Just got on them right there on the spot. And you know what? The next day, things were a lot better. There was a response.
Yeah.
And then that's what you want.
Yeah. We talked about that the other day, just about how impressive that was, him calling out players by name. Players, they really responded to that. And then they come out and the offense just looks very good the last few practices, strictly because Coach Ron just lit a fire under him. And that's.
Yeah, I mean, you hear that all the time by like NFL players, ex-NFL players. They just want the coaches to just like shoot it to them straight and just tell them what it is. Don't really beat around the bushes. So, I mean, like you said, it just goes to show you what kind of guy that Ron Rivera is. And like you said, it's a bright future. I can't wait for them to get on the field week one.
And like you alluded,
I don't know where you guys are at on predicting the season. Obviously, this isn't a playoff team to me. I just don't think the talent's there. I think there's too steep of a learning curve in year one. I know there's lots of people who disagree, and certainly the defensive one's there. But I think that he's a guy who, Ron Rivera's a guy who, when they lose, they won't tune him out. Some guys, once the playoffs are out of the picture, we have all seen those brutal games in December where it's just so obvious nobody cares.
Yeah.
I think these guys are going to fight to the finish for him, knowing they're building something long term.
Okay. Now, Michael, I have two questions for you, both branched off one another. One being your reaction to Alex Smith's ability to work himself back onto the field. Then off of that secondary, do you think Dwayne Haskins starts and plays in all 16 games?
Well, I think if he's healthy, he does. Yes. I think the only thing that could take him off the field is an injury. Okay. I have run out of words to describe the Alex Smith comeback because y'all saw the video, right?
Yeah,
the ESPN.
Right. Yeah.
How can you watch that and not be amazed that this dude, one, has a leg, two, can walk, and if the video ends with him walking down the street, you're like, my goodness, man, this dude, he is incredible. Look what he's overcome. But the video ends with him playing football. He's playing football. I don't even know, man. Every time I do one of these podcasts, write an article or something, I always say there's no way he'll ever play football again. And I'm starting, the doubt's starting to creep in. I still think he's at least a year away. He hasn't played 11 on 11 in practice. He hasn't been hit. He's not coming back this year. But goodness, man, if he comes back on the field, what a moment that would be.
Like Doug Williams said the other day, we need to have a Purple Heart in the NFL and award it to Alex Smith.
Yeah,
I'll say this. I think he's got my vote for comeback player of the year, even if he doesn't play all year.
No matter what.
Just him being on the sideline, he's the winner.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering that myself last week. I was like, can they award that to a player that doesn't play? And I wonder if
on
that
the roster.
I would wonder if that would be the case, and I hope it would be for Alex. Now, with that being said, with Alex, where do you think that he is on the roster? Come week 1, everyone is sitting here speculating, is it Kyle Allen at number 2 and Alex Smith at number 3? I personally believe that Alex Smith is more a player type of coach at that third quarterback spot, just trying to help Dwayne and Kyle progress at the quarterback position. Where do you think that roster position plays out?
My guess is they keep 2 quarterbacks. So that's Dwayne and Kyle, and Alex goes to IR. So the doctor's saying not ready for tackle football, which allows them to put him on injured reserve. And you remember, you can pull a guy off of injured reserve. Now it'd be week 7. Week 6 he could come back to practice. Week 7 he could be on the field. So that allows you to keep monitoring him, and it leaves open the possibility if Dwayne gets hurt, if Kyle gets hurt, if something happens down the line, he's not out of reach. You don't have to shelve him for the whole year. He hasn't been hit yet. I think that's a big milestone. Obviously, he'll need to get tackled, and he'll need to go see the doctors after that and get the leg looked at after that. So I think that allows you to do things with the rest of the roster. If you only have 2 quarterbacks on the roster, of course you can go deeper at other positions, right. And then you've got the third in Alex. You're just kind of stashing him on IR, waiting for that comeback to be signed off on.
Yeah, and I like that way that they would play that out. I think that's a really smart way to go about it, I think, for all parties involved. Now, I just asked you what your prediction was for the quarterback position and how that roster position was going to shape out. So let's keep it on offense. But I want to go to left guard for you. We kind of found out a little bit about the left tackle position this week. So Keith Ishmael, I know, stepped into practice really well the other day. What is your opinion of that left guard spot? Who do you think takes it?
I think Wes Martin's got it, but you're right. It's a fluid situation, and I think Ismail's probably a long-term center, but I love him as a swing guy, a backup. They're giving him those reps in practice. If he's on the game day roster, he can be the backup at both, which saves you a spot. Which I think he's a really sharp dude. You guys have probably seen interviews with him. I think he can pick up both positions well enough, and he's what they want in terms of the future. He's athletic. He's quick. He can be out in space. That kind of Trent Williams thing where you just run 30 yards and then block the snot out of somebody who doesn't see it coming. Like, he's not as big as Trent, so he can't do that as well. But he's got a little bit of that in him. So you got Jaron Christian. I think Wes Martin next to him, Rouillet at center. Okay. Obviously Sheriff and Moses on the other side. I think Christian's your big question mark there. I think we'll find out week 1 when Philly comes rushing after him.
That's funny. I was actually going to ask you, it looks like Jaron Christian's got that left tackle locked up, and I was going to ask you, what have you seen so far from him in camp, and obviously, what do you expect week 1?
He's definitely, he had a fire lit under him, and I think what it was, and we can rag on the old coaching staff, but Bill Callahan was a really good offensive line coach. That's a dude who knew his stuff, and he didn't like Christian. He, last year we were in garbage time, late in the year, 3-11 football team. Christian was still sitting on the bench. That was the time to play him. Yeah. And Callahan was like, nah, this dude's a lost cause. So whatever happened there, lit a fire under him. He had a very good offseason. He looks technically sound. I don't think, you talk about does he beat Chase Young one-on-one? No, he does not. Chase Young is better. And there's going to be some of that because there's some really good pass rushers in the NFL. So, when San Francisco comes to town, Bosa's probably push him around a little bit. But Bosa pushes a lot of dudes around. So, it's not the end of the world. I think you give him help, give him a tight end on that side. make sure Dwayne's aware of what's going on. I think he's serviceable.
Yeah, well, it would kind of make sense if Bill Callahan didn't really like him. If what we're hearing is true, where Jerron Christian didn't work as hard as he should have during the offseason because he knew he wasn't going to play. So, I mean, that could kind of make a little bit of sense there. But one person, I know you've been to some of the practices. I just have to ask you because I haven't been able to ask anybody this yet. How impressive is Antonio Gibson's first cut? How impressive is he as soon as he gets a little bit of daylight and he can slither through that hole?
Yeah, he's going to be a perfect fit for Scott Turner. A guy who gets into space, can do things. Adrian Peterson's still your run it up the middle for 4 yards guys. That's his specialty. I don't know that Gibson will ever be that guy, but the variety of things they can use him on. I'll say this: there won't be many offensive snaps this year that don't include a guy in motion. Like a guy's going in motion, somebody's moving somewhere. That's going to happen. This is Scott Turner offense. He fits it. I think it was probably a little overblown. We drafted him to be the next Christian McCaffrey type, and people hear that and think one thing. He's not Christian McCaffrey, but he is Christian McCaffrey light. Like he's generic brand Christian McCaffrey. He's Safeway brand Christian McCaffrey. He can do a lot of the same things. He's a smart dude.
And my father-in-law would wring my neck if I missed this question. I only have 2 more for you. The wide receiver position. The Washington football team has lost out on Kelvin Harmon. They have lost out on Cody Latimer now. And so there's a lot of question marks there. Do you think that they are okay at that wide receiver position, or do you see them going and trying to add some players?
I've come to believe through watching practice that they're okay at the pass catcher position. And that's because Gibson can catch passes. I think Logan Thomas is going to exceed expectations. Yes. I don't know if he's the tight end of the future, but I think he's got a nice rapport with Haskins. So you got a couple more options that aren't receivers. And Terry, man, he's a beast, obviously. I miss that. I don't know that I feel great about any of the number 2 receivers. You'll see, like Sims I'm talking about Steven Sims. It will make great plays, but he had the other day where he fumbled twice, and Andy Golden, will get up and make a great catch, but he'll also drop some easy ones, and his routes aren't on point yet, which is to be expected from a rookie. I haven't seen anybody step up into that number 2 wide receiver spot that I feel good about yet. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people that would agree with you, Michael. Now, to finish up the interview, we asked this question to each one of our guests that comes on the show. And if there was one player that you could pick that is going to progress the most under this coaching staff, under Ron Rivera, Scott Turner, and Jack Del Rio, who would that player be?
Okay, I'll give you my short-term buy and my long-term buy here. Long-term, I like Khaleke Hudson a lot. I think he fits in with a lot of the things Ron wants to do long-term in a defense. He's got a nose for the ball. I don't think he's going to get on the field much this year. I just don't think he's ready for that. Next year, though, I could see him being the guy at training camp we report back on as saying, this dude's having a day. Once he finds his groove in the NFL, they find a position for him. This year, I am excited to see Landon Collins. I think a lot of people probably maybe too quickly gave him the bust label last year. Oh, another free agent signing that didn't work out. He didn't live up to his contract last year. Nobody on the defense did. It was a terrible year.
It's an understatement.
They're letting him be a lot more aggressive this year. I think that suits his style. He may end up with a sack or 2 this year. I think he's capable of that. I think that he's going to really enjoy playing for this coaching staff, and they're going to get more out of him than the last group did.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people would agree with you as well, Michael. That was a great one to pick.
Especially with this defensive front. Somebody from the secondary is going to shine with this ability to get after the passer. I think Collins is a good pick.
Absolutely.
Yeah, nobody's picked him yet, so that's a great pick.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
All right. Woo.
Yeah,
Number 1.
Thank you so much for joining us, Michael. We really appreciate all the work that you do covering the team. I can't tell you how many times we've listened to you call into 106.7 and give your takes. It was really special for us to be able to get you on tonight. We love your work, and we really appreciate you taking the time out.
Yes, sir.
Well, I appreciate that. It's great fun. I think it's going to be a really fun season.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Michael. Have a great night.
Have a good one.
You guys too.
Woo, that was great, fellas. That was absolutely great. Michael Phillips of the Richmond Times Dispatch. Thank you so much for joining us again. Man, do we have a lot to go over. There has been just incident after incident after incident it seems like with the Washington football team. So the article comes out yesterday claiming, I think 42 women now. I think it's up like maybe 100 women have claimed workplace misconduct. I know a lot of the headlines are labeling they're like sexual misconduct against Dan Snyder. I know that is being thrown around a lot, but it's not. I think it's only like literally one that is saying Dan Snyder did anything. This is insane to me. I feel like I know that we're going to pick this apart, fellas, and I want to get your guys' opinions on this before I go on my little rant and tangent. So, Hall, let me get your first reaction to that Wapo article from yesterday.
I mean, it's just another one of those, just like, I guess you want to say, punch to the guts as a fan.
Yeah.
And in the fan base is kind of where it's just like, you hear all the reports out of training camp where Michael Phillips has said it, where Saturday, it was a horrible practice by the offense. Rivera laid into him, and it was followed up by 2 great practices. And, it's like all this momentum building up to the supposed scrimmage today, which got canceled for good reasons or whatever. So it's just like I said, a punch to the gut. And it's just like when you're taking a couple steps forward, there's always just kind of just like, man, we were progressing up, go back to jail, start again, go right back to go and start over, So it's just like, it's saddening to hear. But again, it sounds like it's a lot of the past old regime and the kind of the yesteryears of the culture. So hopefully with Julie Donaldson, Ron Rivera, this new coaching staff, Jason Wright, like Michael Phillips said, hopefully they'll be able to get to do their jobs fully, and it'll just be no more, well, I expect more bombshells, but no more future bombshells as far as culture and within the building.
Yeah. And I think the one thing, look, I know I listened to Burrow's, the DC Tweet Team podcast. Make sure you guys go check them out. I listened to his pod today reacting to it. And I completely understand where he's coming from. Being so passionate about saying Dan Snyder is the problem. We have to get Dan Snyder out of the building. I completely understand. But we have to take a deep breath. These are only accusations. And I know that there is a lot of them. And generally, when you have a lot, there is some truth to the whole incident. But you have to imagine, we don't know the possibilities here. We don't know the extent of some of these people trying to oust Dan. We don't know if they're just paying anybody, willing to be able to say something bad about Dan. We don't know that avenue. So let's wait a minute. Let's let the investigation go through, and then let's find out what to do next. And I hate this whole thing that the end, like people, and I know the Washington Post and media are now asking the NFL to get involved and to run the investigation. The NFL announced yesterday. They said they recommended this law firm, Beth Wilkinson, to Snyder to run the investigation. So I don't understand what you guys are talking about. But I want to say, if any of those are true about the former executives, shame on them. They should be dealt with in the criminal law. They should be legit and held up to standards. Now, one thing that pissed me off about that article, and I'm sorry to say that, I really am, but the one woman said that she had PTSD from working at Redskins Park. Now, I wholeheartedly respect and I 100% I understand that you probably went through some crazy stuff that you should not go through at the workplace. But please do not disrespect people by saying you have PTSD from it. That is incredibly disrespectful. It is embarrassing, and a grown person should never say that. I mean, you weren't locked in a cage for 20 hours a day. Can we stop this? Good Lord.
I completely agree. You weren't over there in Afghanistan getting fired at with this, but
everyone throws around PTSD like it's like the common cold. Like, I don't understand.
Right. I never thought that I would say this or be like this, but like I'm kind of coming to the defense of Snyder here and feel myself getting a little bit offended every time I hear stuff about him. I'm like, oh yeah, that's not true. No way. You guys are just trying to bring him down. It's just Bezos wants to buy the team. Like, I never thought that I would feel like that ever. But I do think that it's kind of a witch hunt in a way.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that people are just trying to get Snyder out of power, and usually that's a good thing. But the only problem is, so far this offseason, it's the end of last season, he's done nothing but make the right moves.
Yeah.
Like all the hirings that they've made, obviously bringing in Ron Rivera, getting Chase Young, like this, they're changing the name. Like they're on the right path. And I think give Snyder a little bit of an opportunity to prove that he can keep his nose out of things and not get too involved. And then maybe let's try to run him out.
Yeah, that was going to be – oh, my bad. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Go.
Yeah, I was just going to say that was going to be my whole point also. It was kind of just like like I said before, a lot of this stuff seems like it was like 10, 15 years old. And if it is true, like I said, shame on everybody that was there, the executives. And if Dan Snyder was involved, shame on him too. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like we're trying to move forward. So like, why keep bringing up all this past stuff? Let's see what happens going forward. If, like you said, if Dan Snyder can't prove that he's the same old Dan Snyder, just got his hands in everything and the culture's not really going to change, okay, then we can talk about, all right, he needs to go. But let the man at least try to do the right thing for once in his life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because the one thing that, look, there is one glaring fact here, and that is that Dan Snyder allowed those abusers to run rampant in that office.
Negligent.
That should have never happened. Now, the other stuff that's being labeled with Dan can be questioned. I truly believe that. And this whole, I know that we joked about it the other day in the group chat, but that Dan Snyder was trying to get that one cheerleader to go up to his room to hook up with his buddy Tony. And I know that you put up a great point. You're like, this guy is like a social media, like a social like nightmare. He sticks out like a sore thumb. He wouldn't talk to anybody. You think he's going to go up to somebody and try to get a threesome with him?
Like that's what I was saying when I first read that. I was like, maybe you misunderstood him. Maybe something was going on, because I don't want to say that she's lying. I don't think she was lying. But it's just like, do you really think that guy, like the guy who doesn't even apparently look people in the eyes at the workplace, doesn't talk to the media, gets nervous in elevators, have to have all the paper clips the same way, won't allow certain people in his office to eat certain types of fish because it bothers his senses and it smells weird? Think that guy's going to go try to get a threesome with a cheerleader just out of nowhere? Really? I don't know. I don't think that that's what happened. I think that maybe something was misinterpreted along the line. But it's just, if these allegations are true, and let's say Snyder did know things that were going on, or he did have them make that tape with the good bits set to soft rock music, then yeah, okay, I agree. Let's persecute him and let's get him out of here. But that's a little bit hard to prove. You can't prove that he, like you said, Kyle, you can't prove that he forced somebody to make that tape unless there's emails or something of the sort. But I don't see that. I think that it's kind of just like people in that environment were terrible, and hopefully they've cleaned house, and hopefully all they can do is improve.
Yeah, and I'm not sitting here saying that the chick is lying. You know, like obviously there
I
could
just
be,
wanted to clarify that.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously there could be situations here that just happened. Maybe Dan was drunk that night and had a moment of courage and he wanted to say this. You know, you never know. And
maybe Dan is clapping cheeks left and right.
We're just saying with common sense, with how we know with Dan Snyder thus far, like with what everyone has said, and like he's just like a very social, awkward person. That he would go out and do this doesn't really sound like him. And I want to stress this. It's so weird having Bezos owning the Washington Post, actively trying to become the owner of the NFL franchise, and there's other owners under Snyder who are actively trying to oust him.
Right.
And it's really, really weird, dude.
That's the part where I get a little bit sketched out. And look, Kyle, I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all. Me and you, we used to joke around about it all the time, about you being big into conspiracies, me not. But the fact that Bezos runs Washington Post, and Washington Post is coming out with these things just trying to destroy Snyder, and the fact that it's known that Bezos wants to buy an NFL team, and it's been rumored it's the Redskins, or I'm sorry, the Washington football team. If he could push them out, it would make sense. The one thing I will say is if Bezos did somehow get in control of the Washington football team, could you imagine how badass that stadium would be? Oh my God.
There probably would be a moat there.
Yeah, you wouldn't even have to get up to like go get a beer or something. You just think that I want a beer, and all of a sudden it would materialize in your cup holder.
They got those little robots just like drive your beer down the steps at you.
But for me, this just sounds and looks like a gigantic smear campaign, because when you look at the actual accusations, 98% of them all entail other executives and people who aren't there anymore.
Yeah, right.
The one place where it is the Dan Snyder aspect of him telling the interns and Larry Michael to make him a videotape. That is nearly impossible to be able to prove unless you have documented proof. A recording, you have a video, you have a text message, email,
even
something along those lines.
Can be fake, though. They got to be able to prove that that's from him.
Unless you get Larry Michael to admit that yes, Dan did ask me to make that video, but Larry Michael thus far has said no video exists, whatever have you. My point is, it just seems like a case that can't be proved, but is another point to make against Snyder in this whole public perception war that is going on, because it almost seems like a checklist. Bring out the Washington Post article, wait a day, then go out to the NFL to try to send in their own investigation, try to find it out, to try to force Dan out. It almost felt like this was a plan all along, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, also at the end of the day, like you say, it's very hard to prove, and it takes a lot to out a NFL owner from a team. Like, again, it has to be the rest of like 2/3 of the owners. I guess what that would be, 24 owners, to be like, all right, man, you got to go.
You know what, dude? You know what I just thought of?
What?
Do you know how many times on this pod, like, we have sat here and been like, man, like, why can't somebody just catch Snyder saying something racist,
dude?
Or
do you remember?
Sexual?
And now what's happening? Do you remember me saying that I was going to be a girl and have like say that Snyder sexually assaulted me?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I just remember that.
What if the Wapo listens to our pod? That we gave them the idea.
That's true, because we've been saying that for years.
I'm joking.
Like somebody should just go in there and just to get Snyder out of there. But
does that make us co-conspirators in this? Like,
I think we might end up going to jail. Yeah, us and Jeffrey Epstein.
Dude, Reed alone should go to jail for what he said about guys.
No. You don't give a pass to somebody like that. If anything, you make fun of somebody like that more.
No, but I have to get your guys' opinions on this. Do you think that this will force the NFL to get Snyder to sell the team?
No, if anything, the NFL, if Roger Goodell or anything happens with Dan Snyder, it'll just be some type of fine, or I saw something where it said they can suspend him, which, I mean, suspend him. That'd be the best thing that happened to the team anyway. Get him far away from the team as possible.
Yeah,
he's already not doing anything.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like, I mean, suspend him. They're probably going to fine him, which again, when you're that rich, a fine is just going to be like toilet tissue. Like, whatever. I wipe my ass with this. Here you go. But at the end of the day, I fully expect some other like Wapo or something else to come out probably before the season starts in the next 2 weeks. But I don't think it's anything that's going to be enough to push him out.
Yeah, I don't think that they can make him leave. I don't think that they will. But I remember when they were forcing us to change the name, that was a big deal. I didn't know I think it was Lake who told us that 31 teams split profit when it comes to merchandise sales. Mm-hmm. So Nike not putting the Redskins stuff out on the shelves hurt the other teams involved, because you're not getting sales because your merchandise isn't on there. So something like that, I could see pushing what kind of put pressure on Snyder, but I don't think that this is there's no way to prove that he did anything unless something else comes out that's just like damning and like he's screwed. I don't think that he's going anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere, and I think that the name change was a strategic positioning by Dan. I've said this before. I felt like Dan changed the team name to get the graces of the NFL and the other NFL owners. So if this did come down the pipeline, he wouldn't be forced out. That's what I felt like happened here. And it's crazy that stuff is rolling out like this, because the NFL's came out and said, no, we already recommended that office. We'll see what Beth Wilkinson said. So all these people, the Washington Post, that's been clamoring for them to go after the Washington football team, they don't have that anymore. It's just all of this timing is just so weird to me. It's just how everything is developing. I know Snyder said in his statement that this was the first that he'd heard about it, but to me, it almost seems like he is gotten out in front of it, if that makes any sense.
No, I know what you're saying. And like, we all know that people that work there, if Snyder didn't see this stuff happen, then it's negligent on his part at the very least. Like, he should have known that something was going on. He's the head guy in charge. He should know this. Especially, I know somebody who works there and said that he overheard Chris Cooley and Larry Michael talking when they had their show and talking very vulgar about a woman employee who worked there. I think it was about an intern, just saying disgusting things that I can't repeat on here. But he was saying, he was like, I couldn't go tell on them because that's the voice of the Redskins and Chris Cooley. Who am I to say anything? Who am I? Like, I'd probably get fired over them. But it's just like, if people like that see everything and what's going on, obviously it was a terrible environment. And all we can do now is just hope that they have the right people in place to let that not happen again and completely turn us around.
Yeah, and because
Yeah.
like the one thing we can't sit here and say that the video doesn't exist. I'm sitting here thinking the video does exist. That doesn't mean Snyder's guilty.
What song do you think it is? Do you think it's like "In the Air Tonight" to Phil Collins? They said it was some classic rock music.
It was they said classic. They said what was it was
And then he
Aerosmith.
zooms in on him.
It was
Yeah.
Aerosmith. One of the songs was Aerosmith. It was Smooth Emotion.
Smooth and mush.
Oh my
So
god!
fitting, so fitting.
What if they did "Dude Looks Like a Lady" or something?
No, but it's really, this is all just really, really weird to me, and I really hope it is not true that this is some sort of elaborate conspiracy to try to oust Dan as the majority owner. And one thing I want to make clear, everyone is clamoring for Jeff Bezos. One of the reasons why a lot of the Washington fan base was put off by Dan is because he had his own radio station. He could guide the radio waves on what was being said about him. He could be able to limit what was being said about him, almost like communist China and their media outlets. If Jeff Bezos becomes the owner of the Washington football team, same thing's going to happen with the Washington Post. There's even a bigger company,
even worse.
media company, being able to say whatever the hell he wants. I just feel like that's dealing with a hot grenade. And I just do not look, as much as I've been on here saying that we should get rid of Dan, it worries me. It does. It does.
Yeah. And anybody says anything bad about Bezos or Bezos, however you pronounce it, he just Amazon Primes a grenade to the house. But it would have Amazon Prime Stadium or something, which would be tight. But no, I think that the dude's a little bit weird that his paper is the one that's coming out consistently with like all these reports, and it's known that he wants to buy a team.
It's really weird. Really weird. I just
It's
doesn't
2020
seem...
for you, man. 2020.
Yeah. And then
this is like the one thing that he can't just buy because Snyder has to be like, all right, here, But Snyder's not doing that. So like this is the one thing in the world that he can't have. So he's like, all right, we're going for it. Yeah. We're going full.
I'm wondering why he hasn't just like bought the minority owners just like stakes and just been like, all right, now I'm here, so I'm just gonna annoy you and be around you every day until you give me the team.
Yeah.
I feel like he might have a lot of money wrapped up in legal fees right now, is my thing, because that's a whole lot of money to be able to buy out those guys, and if you have a lot of money being allocated to legal fees, you might not have that much for capital. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But talking about that, the Washington football team announced yesterday that they canceled the scrimmage tonight, the 27th live scrimmage, because of the latest shooting of the fellow, I forget his name, Blake?
Jacob Blake? Was that his
Jacob
name?
Blake, yeah.
Of Jacob Blake. And so I have to go around the horn here. I have to get your guys' opinions. Are you put off with the fact that they canceled the scrimmage? Are you not worried about it? Do you appreciate it? Do you think it's a good gesture? What do you think, Reed?
Why are you starting with me? I'm just kidding. No. I think... Yeah, I mean, I completely understand it. Everybody around the league. I mean, last night I got a notification saying that the Bucks were boycotting their game, and then the NBA every team was doing that. So then the NBA just canceled all the games. And yeah, I mean, I completely understand. There's got to be something that's going on. This is a way for people to use their voice, for athletes, I guess, to use their voice. Now, personally, I don't understand how it works, in the sense that, like, I don't think that, like, a police officer is going to be like, I'm not going to shoot this guy because or else LeBron James might sit out for game 5 next year. But, like, I do think that it's a good way for them to do. That's what I'm saying. I don't understand how it works, but it's a good thing that they're doing it to bring attention and to be like, look, until things change, this is what we're doing. So hopefully it'll bring some sort of change. I don't know. Yeah, it sucks we don't get to see the Redskins or the Washington football team scrimmage, but it is what it is. There's more important things in the world sometimes, and you just got to live with it.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks that we're not going to be able to watch the Washington football team scrimmage, but look, there's obviously bigger issues at hand here, and I'm not going to fault anybody for making their decision. They made the decision. Yeah. I'm glad they did it, because they're one of the 9 teams that did cancel their practice today due to the circumstance. What did you think, Hall?
Yeah, I mean, whenever it's like, what is it, like 70% of the league, 75% of the league is minorities, and all the stuff in the world is happening in minorities. You got a minority coach, just hired the first minority president. So, I mean, it would make sense that, they just want to take time and, I guess, discuss what's going on, see what they can do to try to further the cause of all the stuff going on in the world. And at the end of the day, it's just a scrimmage. It's not like it was against another team. It was against each other. It was only going to be in shells anyway. And they scrimmage each other every day in practice. So, I mean,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So there's no preseason games. I mean, again, it's not even in like full pads. It's not going live. They're in shells. I can see if it was like a live practice and it was like, all right, this is going to be like deciding final positions for a certain type of players.
Right.
There's still another like week or so for them to like evaluate players, make cuts and stuff like that. So, I mean, at the end of the day, they can always just reschedule the scrimmage for another day.
Yeah, and the thing that I thought was
Well, I guess not really because week 1's coming up, but yeah.
right, but still, I mean, you're right. They play each other every day in practice. But the thing that I thought was really good was what Ron Rivera said. How Ron said that they're going to take some time. They were all still going to meet at the facility. All the players, all the coaches. You're going to have the new team president there. You were going to have Dan Snyder there, I believe, and they were going to talk about everything that was going on in the world. They're going to get opinions, get feedback. That's the type of leadership and stuff that you need. Just to start the conversation, be willing to have the conversation and take in and let everybody get everything off their chest, everything that's going on, how they feel. And then you guys can try to think of a way to come up with to hopefully do something to make a difference. I love what they're doing.
Yeah, and then you just alluded to it. Ron Rivera, earlier when he had talked to the media, said that he challenged the players to come up with some sort of system, some sort of thing that they can do to give back and try to bring more awareness. And the players are actually actively working on that, which is amazing. Is exactly what you want out of them. If you're going to protest, if you feel this strong about protesting, let's make something to make an actual change thus far. Let's make sure that we can right this wrong, because obviously people are tired and are just, drawn out over this, and things have boiled over, and hopefully the Washington football team can be one of those pioneers in helping it settle down.
Could you imagine Jay Gruden going to the podium today and be like,
dude,
you know what I'm saying, man?
All right, man.
Dude,
we're gonna keep playing. We're just gonna go through it, man. I'll tell you what, man. This
is a crazy world we're living in, buddy. You see that excellent from Terry out there, man? I'll tell you what, man.
Oh man, we ran the spider too. Why Banana Man to Terry, man? Terry was going. I don't remember what I was going to say next because I got too caught up in the Jay impression.
Jay, oh my goodness. That would have been a debacle. We talked about it. We've said it multiple times in this offseason. We're so blessed to be able to have Ron Rivera in the building right now with everything that's happened this offseason. Yeah. Bruce Allen would be like a deer in headlights. Jay Gruden.
He would just resign and be like, I don't know, I resign.
Jay Gruden.
No, the thing is, he wouldn't resign. He would just somehow make it worse.
Yeah, Jay Gruden would be having all of his. Jay Gruden would be having all of his Zoom interviews at the bar, just straight live streaming while
Jay
taking
would
shots.
Jay would keep going off screen like this. You'd have some girl in the background or something like 16 or 17, 18. I don't know. I don't want to speculate, but
I don't want to speculate.
Allegedly, she was college age. So
right. A lot of crazy stuff has happened with the Washington football team over the last couple of days. And one thing I wanted to stress, we've been really hard on Dan over the past couple of years. Like we had jokingly said earlier, like, what do we have to do to get somebody to catch Snyder in some way? But now it's almost like I feel bad for the dude, because it's almost like, at the end of the day, I know he's treated the fan base poorly, absolutely terribly, hasn't done anything for us. But at the end of the day, he's one of us. And if I feel like an outsider is trying to oust one of us, I feel like I have an issue with that, because I feel like Dan does care about this organization. And I know that he does care probably more about money and stuffing his wallet than he does about what the fan base wants. But the fact is, he's one of us. And I can't stand the sight and the sound and the thought of somebody trying to oust one of us from this by using a smear campaign. Because, look, I don't like getting too political on this show, but there is a structure and there is a list, a way to be able to smear somebody. And there's been a lot of comparisons between Snyder's smears and stuff that's happened in the political game in the past couple of years.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, pretty soon, I'm not going to say who, but Clintons might come here and just pop a cap in Snyder. Bill Clinton murdered a guy, I think.
With a trident.
I saw it.
You should probably leave the county, dude.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say, though, about going back to the Washington football team sitting out and canceling the scrimmage for tomorrow, is that everybody's been asking for a different way to protest and voice their opinions, and this is a different way. This is something that's not affecting anybody. There's no going out and rioting or whatever people were saying, and all that, like they're sitting there, they're using their voice and not using it at the same time. And I just think it's really cool to see them all come together like this.
Yeah, just another opportunity for the team to gel to one another. One of the things I saw from that conference that Jason Wright had with Ron Rivera, Brandon Sheriff actually brought a notebook and was taking notes during that whole speech and allowing. I think Adrian Peterson actually talked at one point. So to see, Sheriff there as as a white guy taking notes and actually taking this seriously, I think says a lot about.
And that's all you can ask for. Yeah, like, man, that's all you want people to do is just, instead of being like, no, you're wrong, and blah blah blah. It's just take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Listen to what the other person's saying, and just go
Hear
from
us out.
there. Hear us out, and then make your decision and whatever you want to talk or spew from there. But just for people to be ignorant and be like, no, you're wrong. This, that. It's just like, this is more division. Like, can't we all just get along?
Hey, you would hope so, but I guess the world just doesn't seem to want to let us do that.
We're living in a simulation. I'm telling you.
It sucks to not be able to see the Washington football team tonight. But that being said, we haven't seen them all off season, so it's not like we're getting killed or anything.
We can wait. What is it? 17 more days?
Yeah.
Less than that now. 16 and a half. Whatever.
Honestly, it might be more of a better idea for the Washington football team not to broadcast this, because then then the Eagles won't know what's going to hit them week one. So it actually is a good idea.
That's true.
Exactly.
Valid point. Unless Philly sent over some spies, Belichick style, I think that.
Someone's wearing like a Michael Phillips mask in the interviews, like, yeah.
Right.
Have you guys played Madden yet? Real fast, I have to make this joke.
Is it even out? I haven't even
Yeah, well, it comes out tomorrow. They also had the pre-order special edition stuff that came out, but everybody's all upset, because the franchise mode is the same as it's been for the last few years, and how they have player mode, coach mode, and owner mode, and all that.
People still get upset over that. I thought that's been a thing for 10 years now.
I want to write in and tell them that in owner mode, if they want to make this actually realistic, they should. When you're the Washington football team, they should let you sexually assault employees.
Oh my God!
I'm just kidding.
Lord.
I don't think that's really happening.
Lord. No, but to your larger point, it's so funny that people are bitching about that, because literally that's the one thing about Madden. That's what everyone has been saying. They bought out ESPN. They bought out 2K from being able to rival them with any competition. So Madden just sat on their hands for 10 years, didn't change anything, would do dibble dabble, little small things, and now people are like, "Oh, this is crazy! They didn't make any changes." What did you expect?
They haven't made any changes for the last 6+ years.
Right. And I'm really happy to hear that. I think ESPN is coming out with a remake, and I will say their game was better and was rivaling Madden's.
The 2Ks were awesome, and I'm pretty sure Madden's their contract or whatever with the NFL, or the thing about that says only they can make a football game. I'm pretty sure that expires soon.
Yeah.
I think so.
I will say they did kind of make Madden tight though. They added in that street thing where it's 7-on-7.
Yeah, street. What was that? NFL Street.
Yeah, NFL Street. Yeah, so that's kind of tight. That's kind of tight. But other than that,
I mean, if you want to play in the backyard, that's cool. But I want to play in the stadium.
Plus, they always hate on the Washington football team in Madden anyway. They always make them 75 or some whack shit like that.
Well, yeah. So far, they don't have our new helmets or anything in it yet. It's just the Redskins, only without the logo on the side, so it's still the stripe down the middle.
And the funny thing is, the Watch football, they took away that stripe.
I know.
So why is that even still there?
There's apparently an update coming out tomorrow or something that updates it all, but it's
just updates it with a bigger
Actually,
bug.
You know what? I did see them. I guess that was for the team photos and stuff like that. But I did see green screens behind Terry McLaurin and stuff like that. So maybe they are going to do an update or something.
No, but I think that's just the photography that they do for the
That's what I'm saying. It's probably a team photography thing. So.
Because you know how when they have at the stadium, they'll show the player in their.
Yeah.
I know everyone was frying up Terry for his hairline, but y'all need to chill out, man.
Yeah, come on, take it from people like me,
dude. It just shows that he's staying busy. He's studying really hard, and he's staying busy. He can't get a haircut. He's going by the guidelines set by Virginia.
Right.
Credit to you,
He
Terry.
doesn't want to go get a haircut and possibly bring Corona to the facilities.
To coach Ron, who has cancer.
Yeah.
Right.
Come on, guys.
If anything, you should be praised
man.
for protecting Ron by not getting a haircut.
All right, everybody. Well, this is going to wrap us up for this show. Thank you so much to Michael Phillips of the Richmond Times Dispatch for stopping by and giving us his input and opinion on the latest news regarding the Washington football team. We'll see you guys again on Tuesday. I'm going a little mini vacay. Tomorrow's the start of my vacation. I'm off on Monday, so my 4-day weekend starts tomorrow. Gonna go out golfing. Gonna enjoy myself. But we'll see you guys next week, guys. I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall.
And I'm not going to be here for a little bit because on Tuesday, September 1st at 7:30 a.m., that's when it's scheduled for to have the baby.
And so how long do you think you're going to be away for? 2 or 3 weeks?
Probably something like that because, Lindsay's not going to be able to really do anything for a while getting a C-section. So I'm going to have to breastfeed. I'm going to have to do all this stuff.
Good thing you got the equipment for it.
Man.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I'm going to try it. I'm gonna try.
No, I know you're going to try. That's what makes you so weird, and that's why we love you.
You're not going to try. You're going to succeed.
I'm going to do it. What if I did, though? What if I did?
Listen to a Ron Rivera speech and go right at it.
Yeah,
it's not a bad idea, actually.
Right.
That'll just produce milk in my tit.
All right, everyone. On that note, I think we'll end the show. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. You can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram. You can find all of our episodes on iTunes, YouTube, Good Pods, Spotify, Google Pods. Find us everywhere, everybody. Please look us up and then like and subscribe and give us a rate. Give us a review. Let us know what you think. We're always trying to get better. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you on Tuesday. Washington football. Woo!
Peace.
Audio Jungle.